This demonstrates that you are not committed to our team, Lawrence stated, reclining back in his chair as if he were doing me a favor by firing me. My name is Jared Monroe, and I had spent the last 4 years of my life bringing in millions of dollars for Drayfield Robotics while my bank account remained relatively unchanged. As I sat there, I looked at Lawrence Bennett, our vice president of sales, who was wearing a custom suit and had the kind of tan that you don't get in Raleigh, North Carolina in March. I was 29 years old and I was still shopping the clearance racks. I was still driving the same Honda that my parents had helped me buy when I was in college. He was staring at me, waiting for me to beg, explain, or make a scene. I responded, "I understand." He was the kind of person you get when you go on business trips to Miami in the dead of winter. Even though it was not the reaction he had anticipated, his eyebrows began to twitch. "You are instantly subject to termination." I nodded, rose up, and reached over his enormous oak desk to shake his hand. I informed him that I needed you to clean up your desk, and April would accompany you to HR to complete the paperwork for your departure. The trip back to my work was peaceful, and I thanked him for the opportunity. He hesitated before taking it. I thanked him for the opportunity. Everyone is acting as though they are busy, yet everyone is sneaking glances at one another. In an open office, news spreads quickly. While I was pulling a cardboard box from the supply room, I could feel their eyes following me. I didn't have much to pack, and the only thing I had was a coffee mug that my sister had purchased for me. The small cactus that I had managed to keep alive under fluorescent lights for 3 years. 4 years at this company, and everything I had fit into a box that was smaller than a microwave. A few pens that actually worked. I had brought in over $2 million in new business in just the previous quarter alone, and April hovered nearby with her keys jangling in her grasp. She was eyeing me as if I were going to grab the stapler or set fire to my desk on my way out. And they were concerned that I could steal a stapler. As I was making my way toward the elevator, Tyler Davis, who is my direct supervisor, emerged from his office. The man who had taken credit for half of my deals. The man who had informed me 3 times that my increase was in the process of being processed and just requires Lawrence's permission, and he did not make eye contact throughout the entire conversation. After mumbling something to the effect of, "Be sure to turn in your badge at security," he retreated back into his office. I stepped into the elevator with my badge already in my hand, and as the doors closed, I noticed a reflection of myself in the shiny metal. I did not appear to be burned, nor did I appear to be upset. Rather, I appeared to be lighter, as if I had set down something heavy. My business degree from the state, a solid grade point average, and the fact that I could talk to people were the only things that set me apart from other individuals when I started working at Drayfield. I simply didn't realize it yet. My father always told me that a good salesperson is someone who sells stuff. A good salesman is someone who really talks to customers, figures out what they need, and then finds a way to deliver it to them. An excellent salesman is someone who is able to find solutions to difficulties. My father had spent 30 years working in the trenches of pharmaceutical sales. He had missed more than a few baseball games, but he made sure that we never had to worry about money. When I was hired by Drayfield, he was proud of me. Over the course of the first 2 years, I believed it and worked 60-hour weeks. I was told that the company was stable and had opportunity for expansion, learned everything there was to know about industrial automation, established ties with manufacturing clients all throughout the Southeast, became the best performer the following year after being the Rookie of the Year. I had the impression that I was making progress, but then I saw Tyler get promoted ahead of me, despite the fact that my stats were twice as high as his. They said that Tyler had more experience in management. After that, I witnessed him receiving credit for the Westbrook contract, which was a customer that I had worked with for a period of 6 months. After that, I witnessed him receiving a corporate car. Little stuff at meeting invites that somehow escaped my inbox. There were comments made in meetings such as, "Are you sure that's the right approach for this client?" I kept my head down and continued working despite the fact that I received client information that was a day late. Kept delivering until the previous month when I successfully closed the manufacturing agreement with Abbott, which was worth $2 million. I had gone to Chicago 3 times on my own cash because the company was unable to justify the price when we were working on our largest contract of the year. I had also worked nights and weekends. I was unable to attend the wedding of my cousin, but I was able to make it happen. After the deal was finalized, Lawrence took the team out for drinks. Everyone else, with the exception of me, found out about the rise through Instagram posts the following day. When I eventually worked up the courage to ask for a raise, which was my 3rd effort, Lawrence informed me that our timing was not appropriate. That evening, I updated my resume for the first time in 4 years. A week later, Vanessa Mills, a former client of Drayfield who had moved to Ravelin Publishing, reached out to me on LinkedIn. The company was in the process of reorganizing its compensation packages. She added that they were searching for someone to head up their new business development section, and she suggested that we should catch up. We drank coffee together. Someone who has experience in technical sales, also known as someone like me, who took 1 day off for vacation. Someone saw me in the lobby of the Ravelin building and informed Tyler that I had become eligible for an interview on that particular day. I was sitting in my car in the Drayfield parking lot for over an hour after security had taken my badge. I was just sitting there with the air conditioning running, gazing at the building where I had spent the previous 4 years of my life. A buzzing sound came from my phone. It was 4 years of early mornings and late nights. 4 years of us, taking care of you and treating you like a member of the family, and 4 years of simply hanging in there. Please accept my apologies for the way things transpired. I am simply adhering to the established protocol. Without responding, I turned off my phone and drove home. When I came into my apartment, everything seemed different. Everything was emptier in some way, despite the fact that nothing had changed. Following the opening of a beer and the placement of my box on the kitchen counter, I sat down on my couch and did something that I hadn't done in years. I did nothing. I sat there drinking my beer, watching the afternoon light flow over the wall of my living room. I turned my phone back on at approximately 7 o'clock. There were no emails, nor were there any calls, nor were there any ideas to evaluate. There were 3 missed calls from my parents, as well as a text message from my sister wondering if I was okay. It was revealed that Tyler had phoned her looking for me, which was a barrier that I was not even aware could be broken. I responded with a single word to an email that was sent to me by Vanessa at Ravelin. She asked if I could come in tomorrow at 10 o'clock. The team would want to see you. After that, I contacted my parents and told them that they had done you a favor. My father's response came after I had detailed what had occurred. I was surprised by what he said. How about that? They have demonstrated to you exactly who they are, son. There will be no more illusions. Now you know he was correct. There will be no more ifs. All of those times that I had given them the benefit of the doubt, all of those times that I had blamed myself for not working hard enough, not being visible enough, and not playing the game well enough, all of those times that I had swallowed my pride and continued to push forward because I believed that loyalty meant something. Taking one day, a day that I had earned, to look for something that they would never offer me resulted in my termination from my position. It did not matter to them. A future, fair recompense, and respect are all important. My mother picked up the phone and asked, "What do you need, honey? Do you want us to come down this weekend?" I responded, "No, I'm okay, actually." My mother's question was now evident. For the first time in a very long time, I felt something other than tiredness, something other than that low-grade anxiety that had become my regular companion. I believe that this turned out to be the best thing that could have happened, and I meant it. That night, I slept better than I had in months, and in the morning I put on my best suit, which was the one I had purchased for crucial client meetings that Lawrence always managed to attend instead of me. I felt liberated. I appeared well, rested, and prepared. They had already examined my references and had previously spoken to 3 of my former clients, including Abbott Manufacturing. They knew precisely what I was worth. The interview with Ravelin went just as well as I could have dreamed it would. I was immediately offered the position of Regional Director of Business Development, which would pay me twice as much as I was making at Drayfield, in addition to commission. "When are you able to begin?" Vanessa inquired, and I grinned in response. I accepted without any hesitation. I signed the contract with Ravelin on Friday afternoon, and I began working with them the following Monday. That was immediately. Additionally, they provided me with a credit card from the company, a team of 3 sales workers, and an office that had a door and a window, and most crucially, they provided me with something that Drayfield had never had before, a clear path forward. Vanessa indicated that we want you to build this division, build it from the ground up. We chose you because of your reputation with customers. For the first 2 weeks, everything was going according to plan. I became familiar with the systems. I got to know the team, and I took the first steps toward developing a strategy. I even sent LinkedIn connection requests to my former co-workers at Drayfield, and the majority of them accepted. I didn't care that Tyler and Lawrence didn't respond to the celebratory messages that were sent to me by a few others. I was too preoccupied with the sensation that I had finally arrived at my destiny to notice the arrival of the cease and desist letter. The letter stated that Mr. Monroe had violated the terms of his non-compete agreement. As a result of this, he is thus ordered to immediately leave his position with Ravelin Publishing or face legal action. I was convinced that I had never signed a non-compete agreement. When I called Ravelin's legal department in a state of panic, the attorney encouraged me to send all of your onboarding papers from Drayfield. "Don't worry," the attorney continued. "Went home that night and combed through my papers, and I discovered my initial offer letter, my job agreement, and my most recent performance assessment. We will take care of this." There was no mention of a non-compete agreement, nor was there any mention of any restrictions on future employment. The following day, Drayfield's attorney faxed over a paper that contained my signature. There was a non-compete agreement that was dated 3 years ago, immediately after I was awarded Rookie of the Year. The agreement prohibited me from working for any rival within 100 miles of Drayfield for a period of 1 year after I left the company. However, I had not signed it. The signature appeared to be mine, but I had no recollection of ever having seen this paper. Ravalon's attorney asked me whether I had ever signed anything during a performance assessment. Perhaps it was something that they had told me was usual. I did not remember ever seeing this document. Before I received my first performance assessment following the award, Lawrence had presented me with a stack of papers. This was 3 years ago. What he had said was that it was only the standard paperwork updates, sign at the flags. I had trusted him. Additionally, the attorney continued by saying that they are asserting that Ravalon is a direct rival, which is a stretch given that you offer publishing equipment and they provide industrial automation. However, they are exerting a lot of pressure. As the old knot of fear returned to my gut, I wondered, will I lose my job? This may become rather costly. I stated that I would not lose my work if I could help it. Be cautious, however, because they may attempt to smear your reputation. This is something that feels personal, and it was something that was personal. Just had an unusual call from your old boss. It read in the email that I received the following day from one of my most important former clients at Drayfield. He implied that you took confidential client information when you left your position that you had previously held. I reminded him that you had always behaved yourself with integrity. What's going on? I forwarded the email to our legal team while my hands were shaking with wrath. I wanted to know if you had called me. They were not only attempting to prevent me from working, but they were also attempting to damage my reputation, which was the same thing that had made me important, despite their own efforts to reduce me. That evening, my phone rang. There was a number that I was unfamiliar with. Jared? This is Jessica from the accounting department at Drayfield. Her voice sounded hoarse and frightened. There is something you need to know. They are suggesting that you took client files, but it is not true. I am not meant to be phoning you, but you have always been decent to me. I was in the server room the day after you departed, and I observed Lawrence downloading your whole client folder. After that, he destroyed the original files and informed IT that you must have taken them. I asked you if you would be prepared to tell my attorney that you had taken them. She responded, I am unable to do so. I am in need of this job. I just thought you should be aware of what you are up against. She ended the call before I could express my gratitude to her. As I sat in my new office, gazing out the window at the skyline of Raleigh, I came to the realization that this was not going to be as easy as simply walking away. They were not going to allow me to be successful. They were going to make an effort to bring me back down, and for the first time since I had been fired, I was feeling actual anger toward the situation. The legal struggle carried on for several weeks. Every day brought a new claim from Drayfield, which included client theft, business espionage, and violation of contract. Ravalon stood behind me, but the stress was taking its toll. It was as if they were throwing everything against the wall to see what would stick. My attorney told me that we need to find leverage. Right now, it is your word against theirs on the non-compete agreement, and even if we believe it is forged, it will be expensive to prove. After giving a little nod, I reflected on what Jessica had shared with me regarding the client files and Lawrence's presence in the server room. I noticed a pattern in this situation, a willingness to deceive, to manipulate, and to fabricate proof all at the same time. Instantaneously, I inquired about my commission payments. During the final quarter that I was employed there, I was responsible for bringing in $2 million from the Abbott contract. My final paycheck was nothing out of the ordinary. There was no bonus, and there was no commission. My commission should have been large. The lawyer made a note, which is a good thing because it is something solid that we can investigate. Tyler sent me a text message that evening, saying that we ought to talk about something other than the legal matters. In spite of my better judgment, I agreed to meet him at a coffee shop that was located halfway between our offices. He appeared to be in a bad state. His shirt was rumpled, and he had dark circles under his eyes. His appearance was not as polished as it normally is. Immediately after he sat down, he stated, I can't be tied to this conversation. I could lose everything. I just waited for him to finish his sentence. Lawrence has been engaging in this behavior for a number of years, so it is not just you who is doing it. Why are you telling me this? He looked down at his coffee as he asked. He gets individuals to complete routine paperwork during evaluations, and then adds pages afterward. The signatures are genuine, but the documents are not what people signed. The reason for this is that, although you are not the first person they have done this to, you are the first person who has fought back, and they are currently terrified. Tyler leaned in and said, It's not about you. I just want to do my job. I don't understand why they would be afraid of me. The commission structure at Drayfield is not what anyone believes it to be, and the numbers that are included in our contracts are not accurate. It is all about the money. They are coming after you so hard because they are terrified that you will figure out that Lawrence has been skimming from every significant deal for years. This is the reason why they are coming after you. My thoughts immediately went back to all of those transactions, how much money was involved, and the commissions that never seemed to match up with what I had calculated. I questioned, how do you know this? And I found the real books. The bonuses that were always less than promised because of changes and overhead allocations that were never fully explained. I found the genuine books. Inadvertently, I was searching for a customer file on Lawrence's computer when he emerged from a meeting. His spreadsheets were open at the time. The true ones, as well as the ones that were really paid out, are the two sets of commission computations. You didn't say anything? Tyler's face flushed as I questioned him, despite the fact that the difference was deposited into an account that was called Executive Performance Fund. He offered me a cut, stating that it was common procedure that the senior team had always done it this way. He also stated that I had earned my spot at the table from the beginning. This means that you accepted it? He did not refute it. I have a mortgage. My children attend a private school. It was just the way things worked in the business world, I reminded myself. Why should I tell you now? Because they are not just going to come after you, they are going to set you up. The board was informed by Lawrence that you changed the Abbott contract numbers, that you inflated the deal in order to obtain a larger fee, and that this is the reason why they are claiming that you stole files. I felt cold all over, yet that could not be further from the truth. They are trying to cover up the deception that they are placing on you. They have already begun generating a paper trail, which includes communications with backdated dates. Abbott is able to verify the worth of the deal. Those revised contracts are comprehensive, Jared, and they have resources available to them. When I looked at Tyler's face, I was seeking for signs of deception. Why should I believe you? You've never been on my side before. He pulled out his phone. Due to the fact that I managed to save receipts, he presented me with a number of screenshots, commission spreadsheets, email conversations, and bank transfers, all of which demonstrated precisely what he had said. I requested that you send those to me. In the event that I do, I will be completed at Drayfield, most likely in this industry. I said that you are already finished. After staring at me for a considerable amount of time, Tyler started transmitting the emails. The evidence that Tyler gave completely altered everything. The only choice that remains is whether you go down with them or if you help me expose this. Not just for my case, but potentially for dozens of former and current Drayfield employees who had been cheated out of their rightful commissions. The scheme had been running for years, and it could potentially affect millions of dollars in compensation. When I showed my attorney Tyler's documents, she told me that this incident is much more significant than a non-compete dispute. However, we had a problem. Tyler was not willing to go on record. This is a well-known instance of systemic deceit. Without his testimony, the screenshots and emails that were forwarded would be considered hearsay. Furthermore, Drayfield had huge money for legal battles, so they could drag this out in court for years. She stated that we require other witnesses, specifically someone who possesses first-hand information and is prepared to testify. I considered bringing in Jessica from accounting, but she was too afraid of losing her job to do so. I wanted someone who had nothing to lose. Or even better, someone who had already lost. That night, I compiled a list of everyone who had left Drayfield in the preceding 2 years. These were people who had quit unexpectedly or been dismissed under strange circumstances. I needed someone who had already lost. Kevin Blackwell was the name that stuck out among those individuals who, like me, could have begun to inquire about their commissions. Previously, the most successful artist in the Eastern region, suddenly departed from his position in the previous year amid accusations of drinking difficulties. I had never believed those rumors. Kevin was a family man, a deacon at his church, and one of the most straight-laced individuals I knew. I discovered him on LinkedIn. He was working for a little company now, and his salary was much lower than what he would have made at Drayfield. It is essential that we discuss Lawrence Bennett and the commissions at Drayfield, and I have sent him a mail to let him know about it. I was waiting for this call for a few minutes, and he responded within minutes. The next day, we got together. Kevin did not appear to be a man who had issues with alcohol consumption. Rather, he appeared to be a man who had been carrying a great weight. He said, "They fired me because I found the spreadsheets." He did not provide any prelude. However, I went further and photographed everything. These are the same ones that Tyler showed you. Not only were commissions involved, but there was also fraud in expense accounts, bribes from vendors, and exaggerated project expenses. The money was brought to light. There was an entire system that Lawrence and the CFO had. "Do you have any proof?" Kevin nodded. "And I have everything covered." I was putting up a case to present to the board when Lawrence found out, and the next thing I knew, there were whispers about my drinking issue. I was taking bank records, emails, and everything else into consideration. Then, a customer complained that I showed up to a meeting while under the influence of alcohol, which was a meeting that I had never even attended. 2 weeks later, I left the company. They threatened my family, Jared. His voice was firm, but his hands trembled slightly. Nothing direct. "Why didn't you fight back? Go to the authorities?" "They threatened my family. I just wanted to have a chat about how my wife's nursing career at Memorial Hospital could be in peril if I caused any trouble, and how my children would not be allowed to return to their school because they had connections." I was sick to my stomach. "But you preserved the evidence? You kept every single piece of it. They made it very obvious. I have been waiting for someone else to notice, someone who they could not threaten in the same way, and I have been keeping it on an encrypted drive off-site while I wait. I responded by saying, "Someone like me?" Kevin nodded his head and asked, "You don't have a family they can threaten? Have you already been fired? The most significant thing is that you have Ravalon on your side, and they have resources as well." We spent the next 3 hours going through Kevin's evidence. Not only was it damning for Lawrence and Tyler, but it was damning for half of the senior team at Drayfield as well. They had been cheating their own sales staff of millions of dollars in commissions over the course of at least 5 years. I told Kevin that we need to report this to the authorities because it is illegal. Kevin said that he was prepared to do so. In spite of this, we must exercise caution since these individuals will not be defeated without a struggle. That evening, I called Vanessa and explained everything to her. Her answer astonished me, and I understand if Ravalon wants to put some space between themselves and the situation. I warned that this may turn unpleasant. Distance ourselves. Jared, we recruited you because of your ethics. We are not only going to back you, we are going to help you put an end to this. Drayfield has been conducting business in an unethical manner for years, which has been detrimental to the entire industry. It is about time that someone took a stand against them. For the very first time since this all started, I had the feeling that I could actually prevail. The case was resolved much more quickly than everyone had anticipated. Using the facts that Kevin had provided and the legal resources that Ravalon had available, we did not simply file a countersuit against Drayfield. Rather, we took everything to the Securities and Exchange Commission as well as the Office of the State Attorney General. The investigation proceeded very swiftly. The records of the bank were compelled to be produced, witnesses were questioned, and former workers came forward with their own accounts of being manipulated and defrauded. There were federal officials who entered Drayfield's headquarters with warrants 3 weeks after our initial filing. I was not present to witness this event. Nevertheless, Tyler called me that evening to update me on the situation. In his hollow voice, he stated that they had taken everything, including computers, servers, and information. Lawrence was led out in front of everyone, including the chief financial officer. I did not disclose any information. I have been suspended until the outcome of the investigation. Apparently, they are implying that I might be subject to criminal charges. I responded by saying that you surely will, but that your cooperation will count for something. A week later, Drayfield decided to discontinue their lawsuit against me. 2 days after that, their stock plunged after the news of the fraud probe was reported in the business press. Former employees started launching a class action lawsuit for unpaid commissions. In spite of all that was going on, I kept my head down and concentrated on expanding my division at Ravalon. I refrained from giving interviews. Clients began to leave because they did not want to be linked with the controversial situation. When I woke up one morning, I found an email from Lawrence's personal account. I had not been boasting about my accomplishments on social media. I had simply been working. We ought to discuss. I am able to explain everything. Would you like to meet me for lunch? I forwarded the email to my attorney without providing a response. An article was published in the Business Journal the following day, which stated that the CEO and executive team of Drayfield Robotics had resigned in response to suspicions of fraud. The article included a photo of Lawrence alongside a remark from the chairman of the board. I closed the browser tab and went back to work. 3 months to the day after I was dismissed, the court ordered Drayfield to pay me $147,000 in back commissions, in addition to damages. Additionally, we are dedicated to make this right. We are completely collaborating with the authorities. When the check arrived the following week, it was delivered by courier. I did not immediately cash it. Rather, I simply placed it on my desk and carefully examined it. It was not because I required the affirmation that I wanted to remember what it had taken to get here. Rather, it was because I wanted to remember the truth. 1 year later, I appeared in front of the Ravalon sales team and presented our quarterly results. We had increased the revenue of our division, expanded into 2 new markets, and built a reputation for honesty and openness with our commission system, which was drawing great talent from across the industry. Among those top talent was 3 former Drayfield employees who had been a part of the class action settlement. As time went on, the news about Drayfield had disappeared from the media. Lawrence and the CFO had entered into plea deals. Tyler had escaped jail time by collaborating with the authorities, but his career in sales was virtually over. As a result of the fact that the company itself had been purchased by a rival for a quarter of its previous value, I almost ever thought about any of them anymore. Following the meeting, Vanessa took me aside. Your promotion to vice president was authorized by the board, and it will take effect the following month. I thanked her. Although we were genuinely grateful, we were not astonished by the fact that we had created something that was real and would work. I drove to my parents' house for supper that evening. They had relocated to Raleigh 6 months previously, in part to be closer to me and in part because my father was finally ready to retire. He had been following the Drayfield story closely, and he was perhaps more invested in my vindication than I was. As we sat on his back porch after dinner, he told me, "I am proud of you, son, not because you won, but because you did it right." You didn't let them make you bitter, and you didn't let them change who you are. While I was watching the sun go down through the woods, I nodded and said, I know. It was never about getting back at them. Since we had been sitting in a relaxed stillness for some time, he finally broke the silence with a smile and stated, It was about the truth. The vice president, huh? Does this imply that you are finally going to purchase a new car? I smiled. Perhaps. But I believe that I will continue to drive the Honda for a little while longer because it brings to mind something really significant. What's that? That the quickest way to get ahead is not by taking shortcuts. Rather, it is by constructing something that will last throughout time. My father lifted his glass. Just like you, I'll raise a glass to it.